So the weather is finally glorious. It is shorts weather, but I'm going to be covered head to toe today, sticking with my trousers because I'm going to be tackling this overgrown rose bed. Now you might remember a few months ago, I did actually use a strimmer on this and I did some pruning later on off camera. That's as far as it went. And then it came back in full force, but we did get some gorgeous roses. But do you remember back in the drain and gutter clearing video, I said this would make the perfect place for a hot tub. Well, last weekend we finally put our deposit down for one, but it's not a hot tub, I keep getting reminded, it's a hydrotherapy spa. So hopefully after loads of big DIY jobs, at the end of the day, I can get in here and have a good soak. But what's going to happen to the roses? Well, I didn't really want to take them out. I will be trying to take as many cuttings as possible just in case, because we are in July. It's not the best time to be trying to move them and plant them somewhere else. But it's 2.4 metres squared, this tub. I've been corrected again. Sorry, I meant a hydrotherapy spa. But with that length in mind, I decided to use some CLS 2.4 metre long lengths of timber to place them around here to form a square as a template to get an idea of ways we could walk around it. And honestly, we'd put one here, just past the window, and I really didn't like this gap here. It didn't seem to be big enough for me anyway. We'd pretended to put it over there. I think over there in front of the old cottage isn't really practical because it's a bit too far away from the house and we still need to do stuff to this. Any major works on this could potentially get in the way. So I think the only real place is this bed, and we're not really looking after it anyway. So I think it could be the perfect time to just rip out all the vegetation, try and carefully remove these rose bushes, and there's loads of brambles and stuff in here as well. Now we have been given an installation guide that we've got to try and follow before it gets delivered, like create a solid base. So once we've removed any of the topsoil and stuff, we're going to try and remove about 6 inches because we need some hardcore in there. And this is why we've ordered 1 tonne of MOT type 1 to go down. We'll be using weed control as well. But I know we're probably going to need a lot more than this. And I was particularly impressed with the delivery driver who was able to crane it over this garden wall. And every now and again, when I have had people deliver sub-base, some of them can be a bit funny about, oh, I can't do that, mate. And then you end up wheelbarrowing it from your grass verge, and that has happened in the very first project that I did a few years ago. Now, the reason I've only ordered 1 tonne, because I know I'm going to need a lot more than that, is because, do you remember when we removed all the 80s brickwork from the chimney breast? We chipped off all the mortar and it's all in here. This is the perfect time to put this down as the first base, and then the other stuff on top. We'll compact it. We'll be doing our best to temper it down manually with this. We'll see how we go. We might just hire a lightweight one. But when it comes to the top layer, I'm going to be adding some gravel grids for once, and some gravel. And the gravel is going to come from here. Let me show you. We're absolutely going to town using anything that we've got left around from the previous owners here. This bit is going to take a long time because we've got to gather it together and it's getting more and more overgrown. But can you see here, this is all the gravel that we've got and it's dotted around. But don't forget, by the time the hot tub is in situ, we only really need this around it for decoration. So we might just put some aggregate in the middle of it where it's less visible and put this for the finishing look. This might be a Cotswold gravel or something. I don't know, but it's a golden type thing. So this is what it's going to look like, apart from it should look cleaner once that's rained. I found this particularly useful just to add drainage to some of the beds, and it'll give us a bit of an opportunity to clear some of these weeds that have just come back in full force. I don't mind getting a bit of sweat on if it saves me money clearing this spot here. So because it's all grassy in that bed, the first thing I want to do is get my strimmer out to remove all the vegetation. Then I might hose the area down to try and dig out the rose bushes. It might be easier while it's wet rather than dry as a bone. So while I'm doing that over there, Mr. TCG is going to be right here digging up some turf to plant the roses. And don't forget, if they don't work, hopefully my cuttings will as a backup plan. So I'm getting my PPE on. There's lots of thorns around here. Once I'd softened it with water and removed the turf, it was easier to dig out the soil, but blooming heck, it was still heavy going while the weather was in its high 20s, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Having a break. Yay! Right, let's go and give that a home. So I feel quite conscious that I haven't really been talking to you very much because I've been getting stuck in with digging. This is what it's looking 2 days later. Surprisingly, the roses were quite easy to dig out with a digging fork, which has been our favourite tool, apart from we broke it. We finally broke one that I've had for 20 years, but in all honesty, this is the most it's ever got used at this place. So I had to quickly go out yesterday to Toolstation and grab ourselves 2 more. And I've got another one on the way. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. Wow, there are some massive slugs in here. And we've had to interchange as well with a pickaxe and a shovel. And this is the one that I think is going to be the worst. But what's been saving our back is we've been shoveling all of the topsoil, all of the earth, into the trailer attached to our ride-on lawnmower and disposing of it to the other end of the field. So what we need to do now is, if you look over here, all of the roses are in a line ready to go into this area that Mr. TCD dug up. But yes, we've got rid of a handful that just looked plain old dead, that were hidden, but I think this is going to be a bit too crammed here, so we might end up having just 4 or something. And we've decided to have a patch in front of this conservatory, dig out a bit of a bed and just try and have maybe a scalloped edging here. That's another time, but we'll put something roughly in, tidy it up later, because I think this is quite bland in front of here and it's a pain in the backside to strim along it. There's a concrete footing up to here, so I think this could be just nicer and more floral. So we're going to dig that out now and then remove any of the protruding topsoil we've got until we've got a nice level platform to work with. I've got a feeling this is going to take about half an hour at least, because we've saved the worst to last. I'm pretty sure it's going to need 2 of us on the case. And surprisingly, I've only stabbed myself once on my bum. I'll come back to you in a minute. So to catch you up to speed, I've now got my rose bushes about 2 to 3 feet apart where I want them, and I'm going to start digging some holes with my post hole diggers. I hope this works. Only time will tell over the next few months. Once I've dug a hole, a big hole, I'm going to pour some water down each one and then put the rose bushes in each. I've got some really thick gloves. By the way, if you know where I can buy these are really old from my dad. They're called Arco, but I've never seen this thickness before, and they're getting a bit holy and I can't find them online. If you can recommend any really, really thick gloves that are good for brambles and thorns and things, I need them. Anyway, what we will do much later on is we'll trim them down, but not right now because I don't want to give them too much shock. This is probably shock enough for them. So I'm going to dig it closest to the here. Oh my God, that's... Oh, I'm going to be here a while. Wow. I've got some spindly roots to get in. Right. Ow, you bugger. Now, if this doesn't work, I'll probably end up just buying some roses anyway. I don't want to completely remove what was left behind to us by the previous owners. So we've got a bit of a problem. The tyre came off our trailer while we tried to reverse our penultimate pile of topsoil over there at the other end of our field, for goodness sake. So I had to come over here with a fork, and we've both agreed just to shovel it along this fence and just get it gone. It can hopefully compress the weeds as it is, so, right. Oh, let's just not use that. There's some daffodil bulbs in here, so maybe that'll help. Maybe we can see those next year. So we've got no trailer now until we get the tyre fixed. Luckily, we've pretty much done. We're just fine-tuning, and we've got a couple of wheelbarrows just in case. So what I'm doing right now is just giving the inside of the concrete a clear-cut edge, because there's a bit of soil riding up it, and that, I think, is going to cause a problem later if I don't clear it for weeds just to come between the gravel and the concrete base. So I'm just going to do that quickly. Would you like to use that as a spade? Now, as tempting as it is, I've got to stop myself digging any more out. This should be sufficient enough. So I will be raking it in a minute and spotting any final roots I just want to remove from the base. So I want to show you, we've got it down to about 6 inches, and in places it's about 5. And over the years, I've always been told about 4 to 6 inches for hardcore, for paths and stuff like that. So I'm fine with it. If I keep going deeper, I'm going to have to keep buying more aggregate. I don't really want to do that. And I've also got my gravel grids to take into account. So that will be at the top level there. So before I wet and temper anything down, I'm going to go over it with a rake, try and remove any obvious lumps, the odd root that I see, and then I'm going to compress it as much as we can and get it as level as possible. This is what I'm using. There's definitely going to be 2 of us on this job. So I'm finally using my landscaping rake, but we've also got a tarmac rake, which is very heavy duty. So I'm going to go and try and level everything off, particularly that edging that I did. I start compacting it down with my wellies while Mr. TCD pressure washes the mess I made on the existing concrete patio. Then I move on to my trusty tamper and give it a couple of passes. So I've tampered the soil enough for now, and I'm going to move on to membrane. The gravel grids did come with its own, which is down there, but I don't think it's going to be enough because it's a funny shape. So I do have some spare I'm going to get started with, and I'm going to begin in the centre for a long stretch and then worry about the awkward cuts later. So I'm sticking the first corner in with a ground peg. Watch it. I'm doing them every 30 centimetres or a foot. Just as I thought, because it's an octagon, I'm going to really struggle patching this up, and I don't know if I've got enough. I'm hoping I've got enough gravel grids. Oh, I keep hitting, haunching. Can you go and get me a hammer, please? So I'm having to scrape the barrel right now because I'm on my last piece of weed control, and this offcut that I cut which is a triangle piece, hopefully will fit over there. So I can't be too generous where I am at the moment. So what I'm doing is I'm just making it taut and pegging it to the soil first, and then I'll cut the excess off. Stanley knife would be quicker. Ah, took ages, absolutely ages. Let's see if it fits. Oh, just. Oh. So the prep work is done, and if you have a look, I've just been having a play just to do a dry lay of the gravel grids before I even put hardcore down, thinking, if I didn't have enough ground sheets for it, do I have enough of this? Anyway, I quickly realised, after measuring as well, that it's not the perfect octagon. Not all sides are exactly the same. And I did get the measurements right for 16 square metres, but I did get my order wrong, and I ordered 12 square metres, not 16. So that'll explain why I had to use my own weed control. Anyway, I'm going to clear this now, and then we can start filling this with hardcore, and then worrying about this later. Hopefully the delivery of this will be here in time for when we've just finished putting the hardcore down. I hope you can pick all of this up. I'll have to pick it up in a bit. Ugh. And if you are wondering, these are recycled plastic. I'm just going to stack them up here. But because we're going to be putting this in first, I think this is the perfect place to get rid of it and then put the other better stuff on top. So this suits me a lot better than hiring a skip to remove it. It's just carting it around. Do the monster walk. Right, what we will have to do is tamper this down good and proper when it's in. And you've got some sand to compact it down more. So as I dump the bags in, I'm going to tamp it down in batches just to try and break up any of the larger chunks. And if I can't, I'm just going to take them out like this. Although I do appreciate somebody's tip where you suggested putting a brick inside a cement mixer to break them down. I just don't have one, and they're quite expensive, although it's probably high time I bought one for future projects. It's exercise. It's quite fun, this. So we've now officially used all of the bags of mortar that we had, and we've both been tamping it down, and I've actually used a club hammer on some of the larger pieces. But because we've run out, we've got this patch here. We're now having to move on to the stuff that we've bought in. So I'm going to now dump it. Whoa. I think we just need some new tyres on all of these things. Oh, that's one load. So before I carry on dumping any more, I'm just going to rake it level, just spread it out. No, that's not going to work. Shake it like a Polaroid picture. Shush, boy. Behave, you. Be good un. So after tamping it all down by hand yesterday, I thought I'd check with my gravel grid against the inside edge of the bed. And look, it's still about 2 inches shy. So what I've done is gone out and ordered another load of MOT Type 1. But instead of having it delivered by the bag, I've had it dumped straight into the bed now we can. So that has saved us probably about an hour and obviously manual labour. Now can skip straight to the raking. I've also ordered the gravel, and there were 2 types that I could have gone for. This up to 20mm one or a much smaller one, but I thought this looked so much neater, and I did take my gravel grid to the place just to check. So now I'm going to rake it all out with Mr. TCD and try and get it all level and whack it down again. But this time we've treated ourselves to a second rammer. Wow, it's heavier than mine. Oh no, it's not. It just felt it. It's still going to be hard work, but it's cheaper than going to a gym. So we've raked it all out as best as we can, but it wasn't giving us a true idea of whether it was level or not, and I could still see some high points in the centre. So what I'm doing now is using a piece of wood as a straight edge to screed it and level it out as best as I can to remove any high spots and fill out the low spots. So I've been over this twice now. I think now we're going to wet it down and do 1 or 2 passes with a tamper. Looking good, hands. Right, we are at gravel grid time. So what I'm going to do is put the full ones down for now because we've still got a delivery of the other ones that I forgot to order. But I want to just quickly show you how these ones work. I'll leave an affiliate link below. There are other types. I just went for the cheapest that looked appropriate for me to put in here for a hot tub to be on top. So if you come and look closely, I've already got 2 that I've put together, and how they go together is you've got a male and a female side. And I'm going to start with this row here and then work my way to the other end. And I just need to overlap it where the male slots over the female, and it's a bit firm. So I've got a mallet, I'm just going to go like that. And they are fairly easy to take apart. You do need to pull a little bit. There. And by the time these are full of gravel, these should be strong enough for even a car to drive over it. So it should be sturdy enough for a hot tub. I just realised though, I need it the other way around because my females don't have any protruding bits and I want that flat against there. So that's something I've got to keep an eye out on. So I've got it up against that corner. Now I can't get a full one here, I will need to cut it. So I'm going to save all my cuts till the very end, so I'm not stopping and starting. Oh, I've just had to come back to the start to turn these around because I realised that the male bits, they weren't all in a row here. I had a female and then 2 males. So just a word of warning, make sure you keep checking as you go along. All males on this side. Yeah, just step on them. Is it recording? Are you serious? That's such a pop step. Ow! Luckily, the gravel grids arrived a day earlier than we expected. So what we've done is put the rest out as full as we can, then shuffled it around to try and get it square in a way that minimises the cuts that I need to make, because obviously I've got a lot to do. I'm hoping any cuts that I make over there, I'll have off cuts that I can take to the other end. I don't know how that's going to work out yet, so I have bought another box for wastage. So one of the edges here, for example, what I'm going to do is use a straight edge to cut where I need to in line with the rose bed, and then use my angle grinder. I hope it's deep enough. And then use my angle grinder to score it and then remove it and cut it further. But what I might need to do is use something slimmer because this part is going to get in the way. Scrap that, I've got some slimmer wood. I was going to use a handsaw, but I've realised I've got a reciprocating saw, which is perfect for this, and you're always nagging on for me to use one. So it's a nice snug fit, and now I've got an offcut I can take to the other end, look. So 2 females, we can either go there or on that one. So I'll leave that side while I work my way around. I realised I didn't really need the straight edge, and I cut in line with the octagonal edge, which I could see underneath. I finished with a narrow gap at the end, and I thought it can't hurt to fill it with an offcut. It's all wedged in. Right, let's finish filling it. So all of the gravel is here now. Obviously we've got a bit of a patch, so we're going to have to go towards where the boat is to try and pinch some from there, because I don't really want to pay another 66 quid for another ton if we can get it from over there. So wasn't it really lucky that we already had some spare gravel in the back, and we purposely put that here because if there is any weeds mixed in, the hot tub will just be covering it and suppressing it completely. But yeah, we're just now waiting for a hot tub. About an hour ago, we've paid the full amount, part credit card, part debit card. Hopefully there's no problem, so it should be here by, well, this time next week. So the next thing we've got to do is organise an electrician to fit a rotary switch here and a 32 amp supply with an armoured cable. We've been given set instructions, but I just want to talk about the roses because a lot of you probably might think I've made a really bad decision moving them. So since moving them, I fed them very well with a shrub and rose feed and watered them like crazy. So I haven't taken any cuttings yet. I have spoken to the previous owner's friends, hi Julie and Ian, who were giving me advice of not to take cuttings from, oh well that just fell off, from any that look diseased. So what I'll do is just see how things go first and then I'll try and take some cuttings. Right now we've got, sadly, other things to do, but there are some original roses against the cottage there that I've not touched, so it's nice to still have a piece of the place still here. Maybe I just take cuttings from this instead. Also, I'm curious whether you thought gravel grids was overkill for this job. I particularly like them for being robust and create a stable platform for the hot tub, which apparently needs to be absolutely level. So yeah, let me know below. And I'm going to just sit and wait for an electrician who's meant to be turning up in the next few hours. Thanks for watching. Bye.